Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And, you guys do anything new and exciting? Well, it's now the 1st of April.
So April Fool's Day to you all. I'm dead. What?
You went dark with your...
Yeah, seriously.
Go big or go home, right?
Yeah.
That's the weirdest freaking way to start a podcast.
No, right? I'm not dead.
Yeah, Paul is dead. Miss him.
Yeah. I introduced a friend to Star Wars this past week.
Well done.
Yeah.
Always nice.
Yeah, one of my coworkers. She's fairly young. She's like, just starting college.
18, 19.
Yeah, still no excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that bad. But
it's never too
but
late.
I was like, oh, you've never seen Star Wars? And she's like, no. And I was like, let's do this. She was interested in seeing it because she heard a couple of us geeking out over it, and so we had set up a day to when she had off, I had off, and we were just marathoning all the Star Wars movies. And by that I mean we were doing what's popularly called on the internet the machete cut or machete order, where you watch episode 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 6, and then. Just to make it easier on me, I even went one step further than that. I did what I'm going to call condensed machete order, where I found online this fan had made a what he had called the Phantom Edit, and technically it was all 3 episodes 1, 2, and 3, but episode 1 was really just Duel of Fates, the Darth Maul battle at the end. And even that was condensed.
So it's like the Topher Grace cut.
Kind of, yeah. The rumored Topher Grace cut that he will apparently never reveal on the internet, much to my chagrin.
I mean, I don't think he can legally distribute.
It's true. I'm sure there is that matter. But so we watched that. It was only 8 hours. Only. It was only 8 hours as opposed to 12 hours or whatever. And she thoroughly enjoyed them.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That was a full face sneeze.
Yeah,
too.
sorry. Looking over right as he did, I had there was no lead up to it. It was just I happened to look over right at the right time, and Sam just plasters both of his hands on his face to cover it. So thank you for not sneezing on me.
I don't know. Whenever I sneeze, it's kind of like a. It's like a thing exploding in my face, like those blue paint.
Yeah.
It's just
with the bank when you're trying to rob a bank.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens whenever I sneeze. I've got a huge schnoz, and so it'll just do that. So Jake, I know you recently beat
I got her Star Wars themed onesie to wear
to commemorate the event.
It was great. She loved it.
Good. Jake, anything of note? I know that you acquired the Rocketeer on Super Nintendo. I know that you beat Dark Void.
I beat Dark Void. It was 6 years in the making. For any of you not familiar, there is a game called Dark Void, and it's basically
sounds like a porn that I once saw.
I'm sure it is. It's basically the Rocketeer. The Rocket Pack even kind of looks similar to the movie Rocket Pack, and it's kind of like this cool leather jacket bound kind of fighter pilot type who comes across this technology. I'm not going to go through the whole plot because it's kind of weird and boring. But if you're a fan of the Rocketeer, it's a game I think you can get past its flaws because it's the closest we'll get to a 360 or above SNES kind of level Rocketeer type game.
Well, if I remember correctly, in the first level of Super Nintendo Rocketeer, you're crop dusting.
Mm-hmm. You're in the GB.
And not the fun kind of crop dusting.
Yeah.
And I played I got it digitally $5 the Dark Void game, and yes, I did play the Rocketeer soundtrack, which that soundtrack's really hard to find. You can't buy it off iTunes.
Oh, yeah?
If you try to get it off Amazon, new, I think it's hundreds of dollars. But it's it's I don't know why it's not, because it's my favorite film score of all time. James Horner's Rocketeer score is fantastic. So yes, I did definitely play that in the background. That and Tenacious D when I was playing Dark Void, which is weird. But this is the first album, pretty much only. And then yes, I did acquire the SNES Rocketeer game, which I don't own an SNES. I've never owned an SNES, but we have some friends that do. and hopefully we'll get to play that one of these days.
I've been looking at getting a.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the Genesis is the far superior system.
Says you.
Says me, the non-gamer.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's I
just because I know that we had that debate over.
Oh yeah, I love Streets of Rage and Strider on the Sega as much as the next guy. Heck, probably more.
And Vector Man.
Vector Man 1 and 2. Yeah.
But yeah, Sam and I have actually been kind of playing a lot of kind of retro games lately.
Yeah, I've been on a big. I'm always kind of. I feel like I play more retro stuff than current stuff. Like I just picked up Mega Man 2 on the NES, which is possibly the best NES Mega Man game. It's always between that and 3. And my big argument with 3 is even though the soundtrack and the level design isn't necessarily as good, after you beat all the bosses in 3, the regular bosses, all the bosses in 2 show up. So it's like, it's like a greatest hits almost. And I've been doing. I have the first 2 Donkey Kong countries now, which are pretty sweet.
Sam also let me borrow Ninja Gaiden 2 for the 360.
Oh yeah. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, I got about 15 minutes in, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden 2.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah, Eve 6. Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's cool cutscenes. It's very that style, and it's
bloody as hell.
Oh my god, yeah, and it's it's like this epic franchise that one of the all-time franchises of gaming history.
Oh, I have the first 2 Ninja Gaiden games on the NES.
Would you say that franchise in general is more known for being difficult than anything else? Like when people say Ninja Gaiden, it's not like the first thing you'll think of, because there are good games from what I've heard. I haven't played that many, but they have great games. The first thing that usually pops to mind when you say that to any kind of gamer, it seems like, is how difficult it is.
Hard.
Yeah. Here's the thing: the only reason I don't have Ninja Gaiden 3 is because it's the only NES Ninja Gaiden game with limited continues. So it's like, well, now I definitely can't beat it. Like there's no. At least I had unlimited continues before, but there's no hope.
Well,
coming from the standpoint of our resident non-gamer, I can attest that the main allure behind Ninja Gaiden is how difficult it is, because that's pretty much the only thing I know about that game.
It's the definition of NES hard.
Yeah.
And like there's ninjas.
Well, also another thing we discovered.
Are a ninja,
yeah. The thing about, like, I'm a huge Bomberman fan. I don't know if there's ever been a bigger Bomberman fan who's worse at the game than me. Because when I grew up playing Bomberman, it wasn't like the original classic, like over the head, let's blow each other up with bombs, kind of weird, kind of classic Bomberman
bird's
stuff.
eye view.
Yeah. When I grew up, it was like Bomberman 64 and Bomberman Hero,
which are both great games.
Yeah, I love those games where you're actually running around levels.
My only complaint about Bomberman Hero, it's a Bomberman game without a multiplayer component.
Yeah, which is I don't know. And then they did one worse by doing like the updated, mature Bomberman.
Oh, Bomberman Act Zero for the Xbox.
I've never even played it.
The grim, gritty Bomberman reboot.
Yeah, I've never played it, so I don't. I mean, I've only
the
heard
American
bad things.
reboot.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah.
But wait, what's the deal with Bomberman? Like, when was the last time he had something
like a proper Bomberman?
Yeah, because I have the 360 like updated graphic kind of version, which is a lot of fun.
Not counting like remakes or re-releases, I would say the last one was probably around Bomberman Hero.
Really? I mean, is it like a
late
90s copyright thing? Are they just they're not selling anymore?
Well, there's this little thing that happened called like. Here's the thing: I don't think Bomberman can exist in a post 9/11 world. Honestly, this idea of this like video game character that his entire purpose is to blow shit up.
But I mean, like they made a Call of Duty game where you're a terrorist.
Yeah, but Call of Duty games are weird about that, right? I never felt right about that.
I know, but I'm saying like if they can get away with that, they can't.
I'll agree with you, Sam. It is kind of weird.
Yeah, it's I mean,
like, I'm pretty like loose when it comes to like whatever. It's just a fucking game. But like I agree.
The no Russian mission in Modern Warfare 2. I skipped that mission every time.
I don't know why they have that, but if that's the case, they can't have a little white chode man like in a toony setting running around on like as Bomberman. Like I don't know like how that is a thing, but I guess people just don't care about Bomberman anymore, which is kind of sad. Like I wish he was in like Smash Brothers or something.
It's at its core, Bomberman is a game marketed for children, and at a certain point, I feel like parents were just like, you know what? This is maybe not the best subject matter.
I guess.
At just first blush, you're buying a game called Bomberman. Yeah.
That's too bad because
they
those games
should
are fun.
rebrand it to Bummerman.
Yeah, or like Confetti Man or whatever. Like
there you go. Glitter Man.
Yeah,
just throws glitter. It's just a Rip Taylor video game.
The thing is, like, they're the way they look, and when they win or when they lose, it's pretty.
Well, it's one of those things like you were alluding to earlier. When you really think about the Bomberman universe, it's just a planet full of bombers. They're just blowing each other up left and right.
Yeah.
When you really think about it,
and then celebrating after
yeah,
the victory screen.
Oh yeah, no, they
They're
have
hoisting
the
man.
trampoline. There's one off the corner I don't give a fuck, and the other one's asleep with his legs crossed and his hand.
And they're are they living bombs? Because I'm pretty sure they have a fuse.
I think maybe that's what it is, because when you die in the game,
you explode.
You explode internally.
You die in real life.
you implode them.
Yeah.
You explode from the inside out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is some really intense thinking of Bomberman.
We played a lot of Bomberman lately.
I enjoy those games are fun, and when as a kid I never played it because I was like, oh, we get to blow shit up. It was just an adventure you go on with a cool looking, fun little guy. That's what I liked about Bomberman.
Yeah, that's something that the Super Nintendo had that the Sega Genesis didn't.
That's right.
Super Bomberman, one of the few games to use the multi-tap that let you have four simultaneous players on the Super Nintendo.
Bomberman.
Yeah.
Well, the only one available, you can get Hero on the Wii. You can't get Bomberman 64, right?
You can't get 64 because it uses a control pack, and since it's just a straight-up emulation, there would be no way to save your progress.
Gotcha. But you can get Hero, though.
You can get Hero, and you can get Bomberman 93 and Bomberman 94 from the TurboGrafx 16.
Cool.
I know, for some reason, I just know a shitload about Bomberman. It's just one of my things.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's like a fetish or something. Anyway, the one thing I've done of note lately, I did manage to get all 3 seasons, more or less, of Jackass, the classic MTV reality series that gave us Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O and Chris Pontius and brought Bam Margera and his brood to the forefront of our cultural zeitgeist. For
better or for worse.
Yeah. Viva La Bam. It's kind of the thing about Viva La Bam is, on the one hand, there's kind of wish fulfillment. It's oh yeah, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. But then you're watching him just abuse the rest of his family.
Because I think we were talking about with all the Jackass guys, for the most part, there's this charm and sincerity to each other as a group.
Pontius and Knoxville look like they're enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no malice there. Not really.
And they understand exactly what they're doing too. And they take it seriously too, because obviously if they didn't, the harm that would truly come to them doing these stunts would be,
they wouldn't be alive.
Exactly. But with Bam, especially with Viva La Bam, it's this malice.
It was almost like looking like Joker in his face, just seeing him yes, I get to do all these terrible things to these people, and no one can stop me.
Yeah, and my relatives, really, my parents.
Yeah. Where Wild Boys was these two fun-loving idiots, and you kind of were learning stuff while watching it.
Yeah, there was a nature educational aspect to it.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed Wild Boys the most out of the
the Jack-offs,
Jackass spin-offs. That's where I was going.
I feel like they would be okay with calling them Jack-offs.
Yeah, but the reason I said more or less is because for some reason on Vudu, where I got all 3, you can buy seasons 2 and 3 as in complete. You can buy most of the episodes of season 1, and they list the 4th episode, but for whatever reason, you can't buy it. And
can you view it at all, or you
can't preview it?
Nope.
You can't.
I don't even know what the point of having it there is. You know what I mean? I guess they're like, hey, there is a 4. You just
guys, we acknowledge there is a 4. There is episode 4. We just don't we don't talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because they don't. I don't know if it's not on the DVD release as well. Who knows?
I mean, while you were talking about it, while we were having dinner, I did do a quick Google search on it, and people have uploaded it to YouTube if you really want to see it.
Yeah, see what's too shocking for TV or home media on that one.
Yeah, what's too shocking for Vudu?
Yeah. So
Where does Vudu draw the line?
They have all 3 films.
Yeah.
And they do shit in the films that they can't do on the show.
I mean, it's all uncensored. I mean, you see everything, but it was fun. We watched a couple.
Brought me right back to middle school.
It's a lot of fun watching those shows. Just a bunch of fun-loving jackasses.
Yeah, they delivered on their promise.
They did.
And now, So that.
Oh, another thing. My Laserdisc collection continues to flourish, and I've even started to get Jake in the. Did we talk about last episode?
Well,
Jake?
I had bought it. I haven't got. I mean, it's at my parents' place because the mail still gets sent there.
Which means you can pick it up on the way home.
That's true. So yeah, I own my first Laserdisc, which my dad was confused, why why are you buying this? Like, why would the same thing? Like, why would you buy an SNES game if you don't have a freaking SNES, you weirdo?
Yeah.
But
and to make matters even worse, like it's not even like you bought it just so like you could come over to my place and watch it, because the other day I definitely bought my own copy.
You bought your own copy of the Rocketeer, but yeah, I mean, the Rocketeer is one of those things where I will, I'll kind of shell out and buy some stuff because there's not that much
great
Rocketeer
album
stuff
art
anymore. Yeah, it is.
It's like about a 12-inch square that has the cover art for the Rocketeer on it. So at the very least, you can hang it up on your wall.
Yeah, I have my little shelf of Rocketeer.
And if you have your own record cutter, I just found out that you can cut the record grooves into a laser disc. It's not going to sound the best, but it works.
Yeah.
And I was totally like, man, if I ever make my hopes and dreams come true of becoming like a famous filmmaker, I'm totally going to like do something weird and eccentric, like, release a special edition Laserdisc that's, going to be like 3 sides long, and then on the 4th side, I'm going to cut a record into it just to mess with everything. Like the 3 people that buy it just because, they're completionists or because they have a Laserdisc, they're going to get a special treat by popping it in their record player and get that one side of some random audio. Probably just me, I don't know, laughing.
Probably.
Good chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we've had a good run. Now, this week we've seen 3 really, 2 really good trailers and 1 with Adam Sandler show up. Of course, talking about Spectre, the latest James Bond film. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the latest, as you would assume, Mission Impossible film. And Pixel, starring Adam Sandler. So I we've certainly all watched that, and let's go ahead and share our thoughts. And I think for this one, let's go ahead and let me, speaking of voodoo, use my little voodoo magic. Let me do that voodoo that I do so well and summon Josh, our friend Josh, from the ether.
The depths of hell?
If he's there. I mean, I don't do the theological stuff with this, but yeah. So what have we, certainly Spectre is the one that I think we're probably buzzing the most about. We're huge James Bond fans here, and you may see some James Bond commentaries in the next couple months. Yes, you will.
Will we?
Yeah.
We shall.
I hope so.
Who knows?
Yeah, all that hard work for nothing. I say it like it's hard work. It's also directed by Sam Mendes. Honestly, almost every major sequence looks like it's built for one perfect shot.
Oh, yeah.
It is a beautiful looking trailer. And it's looking like they're tying in Mr. White, who we haven't seen since Quantum of Solace.
He's looking rough.
Yeah, he's looking like he's seen better days.
Yes.
So basically, we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
For all things considered.
No, I mean he's there.
I'm making a joke about how no one liked Quantum of Solace, guys.
He was in Casino Royale too.
Yeah, and we actually liked it. Yeah.
I like Quantum.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not the worst James Bond movie.
Hardly. I mean, again,
it's no Diamonds Are Forever.
It's rough when you put it in between Casino Royale and Skyfall, but
it's a murderous row up, except for that. But so he shows up and kind of. I mean, I know Jake and I have always kind of theorized that maybe the Quantum Organization, I'm sure you did too, Josh, that it was maybe a subsidiary or front or maybe even a competitor of Spectre.
I was going to probably say a front. All the time the shadow organization that had been referenced was Spectre.
Yeah. I mean, how many pseudo organizations can we have running around the world?
Yeah, especially in the James Bond universe and how early into this, I guess, soft reboot of the series.
Yeah, it's weird. What's canon?
Yeah, because I was actually talking to somebody about it today at the comic shop, and it was like, when we've said this a million times, but like, if it is a reboot, the first one is about Bond becoming the professional, the second one's about Bond becoming the man, the soul of Bond, and the third's about the secondary players. The Moneypenny, the Q, the new M. Yeah. And so by this time, it's like now we've taken the time in that trilogy of films to create the Bond that we saw immediately in the Connery, Moore, all those other ones, and which is really
all
cool.
The classic tropes.
Because there's all the little nods there throughout the movies, and you even get in Quantum, you even get Craig dropping the picture of Vesper Lynn in the end, like letting her go and moving on, and then you get the gun barrel sequence at the end, which is cool. I always thought a nod to saying now the man is complete. Now we have to get the secondary characters.
Yeah,
there.
now we have the Bond.
The Bond.
The Bond we've gotten to grow up with for this universe, and now
Yeah.
we get to see him really become the agent he is destined to be.
Yeah, and if that's the case, and that is like this is a new reboot. The reboot has started with Casino Royale, and this is a new Bond era.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Spectre's ever come across to him. And Spectre, if you're a Bond fan, casual or not, and you've watched Bond movies, Spectre is huge, just big time.
There's only one Bond film with Sean Connery where Spectre isn't behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Goldfinger.
No.
Yeah.
Ironically, like the best
one, but
And
still.
much how every hero or creation of good has its main antagonist, Spectre has always sort of been the one thrown at Bond as his main.
Blofeld is James Bond's Moriarty.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I think it's almost safe to say that Christoph Waltz is probably going to be Blofeld.
Probably, yeah. I mean, even in the shot you get in the in the teaser, he's sitting at like the head of a table and you can't see.
And he's
his face.
faceless like the first few.
Yeah. I mean, all they were missing was the white cat. you know?
Yeah.
That would give too much
That
away.
would give
yeah.
way too much
They
away.
had the Spectre ring from
He got the-
Thunderball.
yeah,
I was like,
that's
ooh.
very cool.
And so the big question I think that's risen by the trailer is, so does that mean a member of the Bond family is in Spectre? Does that mean multiple members?
I think we're all getting that vibe.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was hinting at that.
Yeah.
Or if not a family member, someone closely related to James.
Maybe a long-lost brother?
Yeah, I
If
mean,
you think about it, Christoph Waltz and Daniel Craig about the same age, and they look pretty similar.
I mean, they got some similar facial features. I mean, that would be. It's funny because that's almost like unthinkable.
Almost like too much.
Well, no, I mean, because I love both those actors, but it's weird to me like to think of that. It's just something you never thought of, like a relative of Bond, this yin and yang kind of thing going on, where it's really exciting. I mean, if they could pull it off, it's like
and talking about filmmaking tropes, Daniel Craig's been on record as saying the Austin Powers films kind of destroyed the chances of the Bond films being able to be taken in a campy sort of light. If they went this route with Spectre, I feel they might shoot themselves in the foot.
Because Dr. Evil is Austin Powers' long-lost brother as revealed in Goldmember?
Well, again, drawing comparisons to Craig saying that, yeah, that series destroyed Bond's campiness.
Yeah.
Well, not the fact that Bond's series itself did that to itself. I feel if they made either Blofeld or a member of Spectre that closely related to him as being a family member, like a brother or something like that, that just from that idea of the trailer alone as well would just destroy whatever that photo in the trailer holds significance for James as the connection to Spectre.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
yeah, I'm not saying that won't happen, but it could be disastrous for the film alone.
I mean, I was kind of skeptical about. There's certain things that I was kind of like iffy on. I was, of course, excited about the idea of him taking on Spectre. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the big.
It makes it feel kind of like the throwback to our Bond being. It's gonna sound so cheesy, but our Bond being like our father's Bond, like bringing Spectre back into it is really kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and it is a classic element, and I think the other the other big thing is, I guess this is just like Quantum of Solace was a direct sequel to Casino Royale. It looks like this takes place pretty quickly after Skyfall.
Yeah,
If
stuff's still like
MI6 is still fucked.
yeah.
The MI6 building is still fucked. They're still recovering stuff from the ruins of Skyfall Manor.
yeah.
So
M is, the new M is in charge.
still probably facing inquiries from the government.
Yeah, because he's still got his shoulder in a sling, right? From the bullet he took in the end of.
Does he show up in the trailer?
No, I'm saying in Skyfall. Like he's
still wounded.
clipped.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good thing because Quantum. I thought one of the things I loved about Quantum.
I didn't mind the idea of a direct sequel.
I mean, it's seconds after, minutes after the final shot.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended of Casino Royale.
Yeah, there's deleted scenes where you see him fighting his way out of the villa to get to his car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
actually seen those.
yeah,
It's
that would have
pretty
been
cool.
great to keep in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought, but it would be interesting to see this, or for this to be kind of like the direct sequel where it would pick up where. Who knows? Maybe it is a debriefing of like, all right, here's your stuff from Skyfall, and go straight from there.
Yeah, they kind of show that James really doesn't get to have barely any break in.
I mean,
his...
there's a break between Quantum and Skyfall where
Yeah.
he like gets middle aged. Like he ages. Daniel Craig ages a lot
Yeah.
between
Those Bond
Quantum.
movies will age you too.
Yeah.
Like the.
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
also because now the little theory about the Bond movies being something to do with the man, the professionalism, all kind of stuff, the different team players. Skyfall, he is the man. Like he knows exactly what he needs to do. There's no more questions. There are no more hesitations. In the beginning, he's taking the wheel from Moneypenny to take down the guys on the motorcycles,
Yeah.
and he's just this like bull again, just going through, hop on a motorcycle without thinking about it, drive through a window without thinking about it,
Drive a motorcycle onto a train.
Yeah, and bulldoze. I mean, he turns the bulldozer equipment into gunfire, knowing full well he'll be shot. Like, there's
Yeah, or at least running that risk.
yeah. Because I don't know why they have those windows, bulletproof windows in a.
Oh, and Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it just looks cool.
yeah.
Yeah. But so that was the big first trailer. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, we'll see something a bit more full length over the summer. Because it's still very much in principal photography right now.
yeah.
So it was pretty interesting that they were able to cobble. It looks like mostly studio and Austrian footage.
Yeah, I was psyched. I was a little bit shocked that we were already getting a teaser.
Yeah. Well,
But-
if you think about it, the movie comes out in 10 months.
That's true. But I mean,
We got a teaser for The Dark Knight a year before that movie came out.
I know that was awesome, but such a bummer at the same time.
because there was an actual.
Yeah, just
like-
we get the one thing was that the laugh and the Joker card turns, and I just watched that over and over again. But
That's all you needed.
that there was, yeah, you get a little bit of voiceover. But yeah, I mean, look, we had talked about this at some earlier podcasts about this is the year of the Super Spy again. I guess that's as good as a segue into
Mission Impossible.
yeah.
Which has always been one of your favorites.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Tom Cruise fan. I enjoy a majority of his movies, and the Mission Impossible movies are a lot of fun. I think as a kid, the first one was a little artsy. Is that the word?
I felt
It's
it
the
was
most cerebral.
Yeah. As a kid,
very adult.
where 2 is like just this John Woo slow-mo explosion.
It's a music
Popcorn
video.
fest.
yeah, exactly. And then 3. I mean, my favorite is still 3. Out of the 4 that have been released
Yeah.
so far.
I Ghost Protocol is probably mine.
Yeah, but I mean that's a series that has come into its own. I mean, like the 3 and 4 are solid
There's a pretty
movies.
big gap between 2 and 3.
There is,
production-wise.
yeah.
Well, considering who made 2, yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair.
mhm.
Yeah, well, 2 was a success at the box office, though. Like, just because it's the weakest, I would say the weakest of the 4 that have been released so far.
I'd say
was-
the Mission Impossible films felt like. 2 was very much a John Woo film with
Yeah.
the Mission Impossible title thrown on it.
Well, the interesting thing I always found out about Mission Impossible, unlike, say, James Bond, is that you can tell who's directing
Mhm.
every Mission Impossible film
Yes.
within a couple minutes. You're like, oh, this is a Brian De Palma film. It's within his wheelhouse. Like the guy that directed The Untouchables. Sure, you watch you don't even have to watch a couple minutes of Mission Impossible 2 to be like, oh, totally John Woo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
look at the DVD art.
Yeah.
The directors are given much more creative control, I think, with that series. Whereas like with Bond, it's like, oh, this is an institution.
Yeah.
You gotta make it look like a Bond movie.
In fact, one of my big complaints about I certainly love the Bond films of the 80s, but they're all directed by the same guy, almost in virtually the entire same crew, and so visually it plays it too safe.
Yeah.
And what I like about really starting with GoldenEye, but by the end of Brosnan it kind of tapers off, but certainly all the Craig films, there's a lot of, I mean, you kind of get that feeling. You can tell who's directing each Daniel Craig Bond film. Granted, there's only 3 that are out right now.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference.
But all 3 of them, you can tell.
Yeah, there's a big visual difference and stylistic difference between each of the 3.
I feel like a thing with the Mission Impossible movies definitely is now it's because Tom Cruise is an adrenaline junkie. It's how can I top myself with a stunt?
Yeah, how do you go higher than the tallest building in the world?
Yeah.
You take a plane.
Because you
Yeah.
think in the first one, obviously you got a lot of mixing with CG and whatnot, but you have the famous shot with the helicopter and the train, the speeding train,
Yep.
at the end of the movie.
Of course, the big ones where he lowers down in the CIA headquarters.
That's a for me a near perfect scene. Like that whole kind of
catches his sweat.
catches the sweat, just that slow mo explosion in his hand. But and then
I
in
always
2.
felt so sorry for the guy they drug.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
just shitting and puking
He's
himself.
just like, oh god.
Is it, what's the one girl who's
Claire
part of-
Forlani?
Yeah, like flirting with him. He's like, it's gonna be a good day today, and it's, no, you're gonna be shitting yourself all day, buddy, and you're gonna be responsible for a break-in in the CIA because you're the only person who has access to this section.
To the knock list.
But in 2, of course, it starts off with him hanging off a freaking mountain.
yeah.
On presumably on vacation because they're like, hey, we have to,
Yeah.
find
What does Ethan Hunt do on vacation?
Yeah, he almost kills himself again.
Yeah.
Climbing up stuff, and then the end of 2 is fantastic. It's so over the top. It's just fun.
Oh yeah. Doves, of
yeah,
course, because
Doves.
it's John
Oh.
Woo.
And then 3, of course, you get that the great stunt work on the bridge with.
Oh yeah, kind of like True Lies.
There's a lot of I think 3 was really kind of more close hand-to-hand combat, kind of gritty style.
Yeah.
It kind of got back a little bit back to that. I mean,
How he takes out Philip Seymour Hoffman.
yeah, beating him with his elbows,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then which is
Kinda
I
like
guess an
Muay
actual
Thai.
style,
Yeah.
fighting. And how freaking good was Philip Seymour Hoffman in that as the villain? I mean,
Oh
he
yeah.
was-
I'm gonna.
I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna hurt her. And I'm gonna kill you in front of her. Just he's so intense. And then
You don't think I'll do it?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
don't think I'll do it?
I mean, you see Ethan's buttons get pushed in that. When he's just like,
Oh yeah. Who do you think is the best villain of? Would you say Philip Seymour Hoffman?
I'm running it over real quick again.
John Voight,
John Voight. I mean,
Doug Ray Scott,
yeah,
Philip Seymour
Philip
Hoffman,
Seymour Hoffman.
Michael Nivquist
Yeah.
from The Girl.
Oh
with
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the guy.
We also get Billy Crudup too.
Yeah, he's like a
Kind of.
Yeah,
I would say Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Because he had this
nastiness to him.
nastiness, but he would yell and scream at times, but the whole scene on the plane where he's just like, you want to just fight this guy, when you're watching it, and you can just feel Ethan, because Ethan's a guy who he's always in crazy situations, but he keeps his cool because he has to, and he loses it because now he has something to lose. He's married.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of his villains also were in the shadows, working behind the scenes type ones. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character was the only one to really get confrontational with him up close and personal.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Michael Nivquist straight up commits suicide, so he doesn't confront him. He just takes the header in the car park.
Yeah. And then 4, going back to the stunts. I mean, that has the stunt of all stunts. I mean,
Yeah. So far.
and then as we see in the MI5 trailer, he's hanging off a plane.
Yeah.
Um,
You see, I mean, apparently, from they have it cut in the trailer, but from what I understand, there's you see him go up, you see him take off, and you see him go up.
He very badly wants to get on that flight.
Yeah.
Got to catch a flight.
Yep. But it, and hats off to Tom Cruise, man. That dude loves doing his own
Dude is
stunts.
52.
Yeah, and he's still running in every movie.
Yeah, always runs.
Yeah.
Usually with his shirt off.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, in this trailer...
But would you have it any other way? I know
No.
I wouldn't.
No.
Also, in this trailer, they seem to be going... Well, the IMF seems to be going up against its own version of Spectre. They're kind of setting it up.
Oh, the anti-IMF, as
Yeah.
Simon Pegg puts it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Simon Pegg.
Who looks like he has a more
Handheld, yeah.
hands-on role in this one.
He's holding Tom Cruise's hand.
Yeah, it's all very small.
Well, I mean, from the commentary on Mission Impossible 3 with J.J. Abrams and Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise loves Simon Pegg. I think he just calls him Pegg too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he is in hysterics whenever Simon Pegg's on. So you know that Tom Cruise is
he
let's
always
get him
calls
in.
everybody by their
last name. Yeah, yeah. He's like, let's get him in, and have him do more. And it's good. I mean,
so when he was going out with Penelope Cruz, it was just Cruise.
Cruise
on Cruise.
Remember that was the Vanilla Sky tagline was Cruise and Cruise. that was
Yeah.
their
Cruising.
yeah Cruise.
Cruising.
The greatest Al Pacino film, which apparently James Franco wanted to remake.
Doesn't surprise me. I love James Franco, but he did I think he did an article fairly recently where he interviewed himself. It was gay James Franco interviewing straight James Franco.
How did that go?
I don't know. I haven't read it myself. I remember seeing there's a headline in an article
Feels
about
mildly offensive.
it. James Franco is
Mildly
interesting.
offensive.
Yeah, interesting man.
Now the third film is Pixels. It's got the usual Adam Sandler lineup: Adam Sandler and
Kevin James.
and Josh Gad from The Wedding Ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some of the other people that you spotted?
Sean Bean is on the cast
Yeah.
list and on IMDb, and
I wonder if he survives.
And then Peter Dinklage is in it
Peter
as well.
Dinklage,
Yeah,
Michelle
yeah.
Monaghan from Mission Impossible series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 and 4. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I was the first one to see the trailer, and I gotta say, like, I watched it. For those of you that don't know, essentially what it boils down to, without getting into the main chunk of the storyline, is that video games are attacking the world. There's aliens involved too, but there's a scene where a giant Pac-Man, like a 20-foot Pac-Man, is just chomping around what I think is New York City. I didn't see enough monuments to know for sure, but whatever. It's probably New York City. It's a movie. They're probably going to destroy it.
if not New York, then Los Angeles.
Right. And the gang of main characters, Adam Sandler, Kevin James, Peter Dinklage, and then
The creator of Pac-Man.
yeah. I don't know if it's the actual creator or just an actor who's playing the creator, but yeah, the creator of Pac-Man is there, and they're all driving around in Mini Coopers that are colored like and named after the ghosts from Pac-Man. So, and then Adam Sandler's just sitting there like, Pac-Man's the bad guy, and so I was left with, I don't know whether I'm excited because like I get to geek out about video games being real, or like just annoyed because it looks like a good terrible Adam Sandler movie.
I think it's safe to say, and we kind of talked about this, that it is, again, this is just first blush. We're looking at the trailer. It looks a lot better than Mr. Sandler's more recent offerings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is coming
It's
from
no Jack and Jill.
yeah, or blended, or any of that.
Grown-ups?
Grown-ups or Grown-ups 2. This is coming from somebody that, of course, grew up loving The Waterboy and Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and Big Daddy. I saw Little Nicky in theaters,
Yeah.
and so I've kind of been I want Adam Sandler to make.
I want my Adam Sandler
I
back.
want funny Adam Sandler again.
Well, I also think that the amount of star power they're throwing at this film, they're fully acknowledging that Mr. Sandler will not hopefully be carrying this movie on his shoulders and have the support of others.
Yeah, but if you think about it, Grown-ups
So
and
did
Grown-ups.
Grown-ups, yeah.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, say what you will about Rob Schneider and David Spade, but it's also got Chris Rock, who's a big presence and that sort of thing, and it's got Kevin James and yeah. So,
Speaking of Kevin James movie, real quick, my birthday is Friday this year, so it's a big release day. I'm really annoyed that Mall Cop Paul Blart 2 is coming out on my birthday, and I'm like, God damn it. Granted, I'm going to be in California, completely distracted by
Star
nerdy
Wars.
things, Star Wars and stuff.
You
So
know-
I won't notice it, but it's still like that's the big thing that had to happen for movie releases this year for my birthday.
That's a movie I want to see, tune into the episode of How Did This Get Made?
Yeah.
Just to see how that sequel was given the green light, or even money thrown at it.
again,
I mean, to be fair, they never actually answer that question. It's
Yeah.
just an hour-long podcast of people going, "Why?"
That's fine, because I'll be right there with those voices just
Well-
screaming out why.
while we're talking like Paul Blart and Mall Cop, we're not actually going to talk about Paul Blart, Mall Cop, but we are going to talk about Mallrats 2.
All rats
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Kevin Smith keeps announcing more and more cast members. So we're at, we've got TS. and
Shannon Doherty.
who, has, from what I understand, is a pain to work with on set.
Historically hated making the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
And she's back. All we need is Claire Furlani, and we've got all the main players. Because
Yeah.
we've got Ethan Suplee. We've got Michael Rooker. We've
Brody.
Brody and Quint. They're back.
yeah.
Or TS. We still need Affleck, don't we?
yeah.
Oh.
And LaForce.
You know what I hope happens?
of
You know what I hope
course.
happens is the last person they get, like he's taking the pictures with all of them. Got to collect them all.
Yeah.
Was it 4 to go or 5 to go now?
I think it was 4 to go.
Okay.
And what if the last one he gets is like Ben Affleck, right? And then he gets him. Like, he gets him on like Fat Man on Batman, because I want that episode so bad of the Fat Man on
Yeah.
Batman Ben Affleck episode. Now, granted, it wouldn't be until he can actually like dish and spill the beans about being Batman, but I mean that episode has to happen. Like that's what I mean. That's his buddy like playing his favorite thing of all time.
Michael Smith?
Mike Smith. I think he's on ESPN.
Yeah, yeah.
On His and Hers. He's a big comic nerd.
Yeah. Great job, Mike Smith.
Yeah.
Um,
Good writer.
Yeah. You're
Kevin Smith.
yeah, Michael
Yeah.
Smith, probably not in Mallrats 2.
Probably not.
Kevin Smith lives in Ben Affleck's old house.
Yeah,
for
he
God's
sold
sake.
him his old
They
house.
got along, they got along so well. The big reason they and they didn't even have a falling out per se. The reason they kind of grew apart is because Ben Affleck's wife, Jennifer Garner, never quite, to put it politely, hit it off with Mr. Smith.
Yeah. I hope they still hang out.
Yeah.
And do the Batman on Batman episode. That'd be so great.
I wonder if Miss Garner blames Daredevil on why she doesn't like Kevin Smith.
Well, that's what brought the two together.
Yeah.
So he did he? I don't even think he wrote it though. I thought that was all Mark.
He's in it, and then like
he's got the cameo.
He's also in Catch and Release with her, with Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's.
And he's like in it as like an actor. I don't think he has anything to do with
a strong
like
supporting role.
Writing. I've actually never seen the movie. I've been actually rewatching a bunch of Kevin Smith movies, but
yeah.
I got Clerks on Laserdisc.
Nice. They're actually making the biopic about Kevin Smith making Clerks. Like it's a movie called like I
think it's like the filming of Clerks.
something like that. Yeah.
Behind the Counter.
But yeah, I
quick stop.
Rewatched Zack and Miri Make a Porno recently.
An
Great
underrated,
movie.
It is. Yeah.
Oh,
I
love
remember.
it.
I remember seeing it when it was in theaters and really, really enjoying
Would
it.
you say
Oh,
his weakest is Cop Out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Cop
Well,
Out. BT Dubs.
Yeah.
I would rather watch Cop Out than Jersey Girls.
No,
Yes.
I
Or
love
Jersey Girl rather.
Yeah.
I love Jersey
I
Girl.
like Jersey Girl. They got Sweeney Todd.
Yeah,
Throwing a little
Sweeney-
Sondheim.
yeah, little-
That's
little
like the only that's like
Sweeney.
the only saving
I
grace.
told you about.
/ why I hate Sweeney Todd.
Oh, I told you my
The
tearjerker
Demon Barber
moment.
of Fleer Street.
Well, mostly because Johnny Depp. But yeah.
The tearjerker moment in that movie is fantastic with Sweeney Todd. It's a very Kevin Smith moment. But
we're in Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl, yeah. What did I say?
Sweeney Todd.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. It's dealing with Sweeney Todd. When Ben Affleck shows up, saves the day for Jersey Girl. But yeah, I want that sequel. But I don't know. Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I feel like it's unfortunate because that movie was scheduled, like it was projected to make like mounds of money, and Kevin Smith I think was kind of fluffed up to be like, hey, this is going to be your first real big money maker.
Yeah.
And when it didn't make what it was projected, it like shut him down. And for Kevin Smith, the two Spectre. Well, you could argue a third with Cop Out, but the two Spectres were always Jersey Girl and Zack and Miri. yeah,
Zack and Miri, he basically had a midlife crisis.
yeah, but
I think
the silver lining for that is it helped him get to a point to want to make, it made him stronger because he got to that point where he made Tusk, a movie which would have never been made unless he made it, which was his whole point. Like, hey, if you want to see something made, go out and do it.
yeah.
And it didn't make a lot of money, but instead of kind of retreating like he did when Zack and Miri came out, he was totally fine with it because he's become the filmmaker that he's kind of like the 2.0 where like, he's become the Clerks Kevin Smith again, where it's all about the process of making a movie, not about how much money it makes. And, Tusk, helped, in the end, as kind of another silver lining, helped, finance the idea or get Clerks 3, the green light. So it's a good time for Kevin Smith, man. I'm so happy that he's not quitting making movies.
Yeah, I was always kind of bummed to hear that because that's his dream, right?
Yeah.
And now he's back. He's loving what he's doing again.
He's still one of those guys, even though he's, he makes a good chunk of money making movies, and he's made a lot of movies and been in the industry for 20-some years. He's still a guy, at least for me, and I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way, where he feels like one of us in the business, like he still has that voice. Like he's not this super jaded guy. Like
He's still very much the
seems
fan
like
at heart and
he
soul.
seems like a buddy, and he makes these
He
movies.
doesn't seem like a suit.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Got the hockey sweater instead, and the jorts.
Yeah.
But
I
like,
feel like he would have a fun time sitting down with us at a podcast.
well, I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
whenever I've seen people talk to him at like cons or something, I've never seen like personally like in real life, but people at videos or doing Q&As and stuff. He gives 100% to who he's talking to.
Yeah.
It's never you're not a real deal interviewer, you're just a kid. It's like no. He loves like
He loves to talk.
Yeah, he loves to
Yeah,
talk, and
no,
he's very good at it. I mean, he can tell a great story.
He's one of the ones at cons that gets his own event where he gets to have like an audience full of people and just have like his own show where he goes on and on with stories and anecdotes, and everyone always walks out of those shows having an amazing time. And Kevin himself too seems to have an amazing time putting on those shows.
Josh, you've been to more cons than probably most of us. The
possibly even all of us combined.
probably runs the chance.
I'll put money on that.
Yeah. So, have you ever crossed paths with Kevin Smith?
With Senor Smith.
I unfortunately have not had that chance in my life.
Bummer.
Any
Yeah.
of the View Askew guys? Jason Mewes.
I mean,
Comic book man.
I have seen them in the flesh at cons,
Yeah.
but never actually gone up to them, been within like poking distance.
To my knowledge, I've actually never been to a con where any of them were there.
Awesome con, dude.
Yeah, this year I'm you and I were talking off mic a while ago about like not being sure like what kind of pass I was going to get. Maybe I was only going to get a day pass, and then I've still got some of my tax return money left over. I'm thinking I might get one of the special
Got a birthday around the corner.
That too. Well, that birthday.
I mean, your family's already got you covered.
Yeah, my family's paying for the Star Wars
California
convention.
adventure.
Yeah, but I think I might treat myself to the Power Rangers VIP pack because because they have the Austin St. John.
Yes.
Yeah, who was the original Red Ranger VIP pack by itself for like $300 ish. But then you can get all 4 of the Power Rangers that are going to be there. They have like a group VIP pass that's only like maybe $100 more. And I was like, worth it. Especially since I'm going to have, by the time AwesomeCon comes around, I'm going to have the original Power Rangers movie on Laserdisc.
I might be the outcast for saying this, but that's a lot for the Red Ranger, especially that one.
I agree. Oh, I think part of the allure is that he's finally like coming back out of his shell, because he's been very reclusive in terms of like acknowledging the Power Rangers.
I get that.
He was never a big much of a fame monster, to quote Lady Gaga.
I mean, but the value for how many of the three extra Rangers? It's just only 100 more. That's a great value, I'd say, for meeting that many.
Yeah. And you get all the benefits of having a VIP pass, which means if Kevin Smith does end up being there, I can cut the line and get him to sign my Clerks Laserdisc.
I think he would,
worth it.
You can certainly get Brian O'Halloran to sign the Clerks Laserdisc.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And of course, I don't know if they'll be in pre-production or principal photography for Clerks 3 up in Philadelphia. Love to be an extra in that.
Yeah.
Hint, 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 hint.
Yeah, Kevin
Definitely.
Smith. We know you're listening.
Yeah. Please.
If you're as narcissistic as I am, I would be doing searches for my name, finding all of the podcasts that people would
somehow we managed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bing.
Yeah.
He gets a Google alert from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the fat cave.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I would love it. Kevin Smith. What's up?
Please. But yeah, so that's another movie that I'm looking at. Next year, that means next year we get Clerks 3 and they start principal photography on Mallrats too.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to be a
also be a big fan or be very interested in being an extra in that.
Yeah.
Because Mallrats always going to be my favorite, probably of all of his movies, but like definitely of like the Jay and Silent Bob universe.
I'm a Clerks 2.
Yeah.
I'm a Clerks 2 guy.
Nothing
myself.
wrong. I have
Clerks,
a movies visor from the
Nice.
special edition
Yeah.
of the DVD.
Clerks 2 is one of those movies where, like, when I left the theater after seeing it, it was like so satisfying. Such a satisfying like experience watching Clerks 2.
Would you call it your favorite of the View Askew verse?
I don't know. I think like really early on, like one of the first couple podcasts we did, I had rewatched Chasing Amy and not like disliked it, but I just was like, I don't know. That used to be my favorite. I don't know anymore. But it's Chasing Amy is close, but I don't know. I actually would probably say Clerks 2. Just rewatching that fairly recently.
I had a friend convince me and a few others to actually go to one of the anime cons in the area once, cosplaying as the characters from Clerks 2, and I had the wonderful task of being Elias.
Yeah. Oh,
Pants.
it was wonderful. It was almost perfect. I've seen that picture.
Yeah, we had a friend do Randall. It's just another friend do Silent Bob. It was just
our friend Hobbit Sam.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Sam.
You know where he got where he got the name Bob from Silent Bob? Bob the Goon.
I've heard that story. Yeah.
I think I've heard that from you.
Yeah, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, so I did it.
I don't know. I know we were going heavy last week at dinner before we started recording about Kevin Smith, because like that's like right when the new trailer or the announcement for Mallrats 2 had been dropped. And then, unfortunately, I don't think we had enough time to talk about it last week.
We might have just mentioned it in passing. But I always try to. There's the 3 podcasts I listen to from the Smodcast community are the Fat Man on Batman Smodcast and Hollywood Babylon with Ralph Garman. And Smodcast is with Scott Mosier, he's a longtime producer. But those are, I mean, his.
You don't do Jay and Silent Bob Get Old?
I watched that occasionally. Listened to it occasionally when they were doing the appearances for the Jay and Silent Bob Super Groovy cartoon movie. They would do some great Q&As, and Jason Mewes just has some great stories.
Actually, now that you bring that up, the worst Kevin Smith film. Well, he didn't direct Jay and Silent Bob's.
No. That's a movie that's very much a Jason Mewes project. Yeah, the movie is.
It's probably the weakest film he's in
Mm-hmm.
because, yeah.
Probably because he didn't, direct it or write it or whatever.
It's got some okays. You get,
Neil Gaiman shows up.
But, it's not the best.
Yeah.
Plenty good, though. Plenty good.
Plenty good. Well, Josh, I'm going to cast you back into the voodoo pool. We'll probably see you next week when we have another trailer or something to talk about.
Cast you out.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be living here.
Cast you from heaven.
Fuck you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Fuck you.
That was me firing a Kamehameha.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could hear it because he was pretty far away from the mic, but Sam just did a Kamehameha
I didn't want to scream into
with
the mic.
full hand pose and everything.
Yeah, that was for your guys' benefit. I didn't want to scream Goku's signature finishing move.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But
I'm sure Corey approves since she always has nice things to say about our audio.
yes.
Thanks, Corey.
She probably should have never told you that. It was straight to
I'm
you.
going to be on cloud 9.
Yeah. Falling from cloud 9. But yeah, so it's been that's a Katy Perry song.
I'm wide awake.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. But yeah, I think it's been a pretty chill week. Now, Chris, you mentioned, let's check in real quick. You mentioned that you watched the first 2 episodes of the new season of Community. And the 3rd episode is since released. Granted, by the time this thing posts, so the 4th
there'll be a 4th one.
Yeah, but what do you think of episode 3 in comparison to the first 2?
I feel like they've done a good job of keeping things steady. It definitely hasn't dropped off. But at the same token, it hasn't jumped up and been gotten progressively better. But it's still definitely not the weakest season of Community. And I'm enjoying watching it. I went into it. I've probably mentioned it before, but I went into it with not high hopes.
Trepidation.
Yeah, that's a good word. I was kind of after season 1 or after season 3, I was like, I'd love there to be more, but I'm okay with it ending here. And then season 4 happened, and I'm like, I wish it had ended at season 3. Season 5 happened, and I was like, okay, at least Dan Harmon's back. It's getting better. But when NBC canceled it, I was like, good. It's dead. I can, I will always miss the first 3 seasons, but I've had my fill. So for me to be able to come back and kind of just being the completionist that I am, I'm like, okay, Dan Harmon's, got it, and presumably he's got a lot more freedom because it's online. He doesn't have to worry about NBC and the studio and whatnot. I was like, all right, hopefully this will be like Maximum Harmon, and it's showing elements of his super meta-ness, where it's almost like it's just becoming like a super surreal, doesn't even take place in reality kind of show, which I like it. I like that idea, but I'm just waiting for them to actually jump over the threshold and it just become cerebral, and make no sense whatsoever, and just become this ridiculous art house masterpiece. Because I feel
Masterpiece Theater.
Yeah, I feel like that's where it's heading, and it just needs
Any idea how many episodes are in the season?
I think it's around 13.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
They did they finished, they completed the first half of the season before they started actually producing it, and I think they just wrapped on the final episode this week.
Yeah. Now, in terms of web series, I did manage to wrap up the 3rd season of House of Cards this past week. it's and I mentioned this on the episode with Corey. House of Cards is a show that's well produced. It looks great. It's well performed. But if you stop and think about the story, it's pretty fucking dumb. Like, you think the big crux of season 3 is President, the Kevin Spacey character. He unveils this comprehensive jobs plan, and if you actually think about it, it's like, wow, this is really unfeasible. Like, it's just like, this can't work.
More ridiculous than the president solving the crisis in the Middle East and the Social Security issue in one episode of The West Wing.
Well, he doesn't do it in the same episode of the West
no, he
Wing.
doesn't.
No,
I might be getting episodes confused because it's been a while since I've watched
it happens in the same season.
Okay.
But yeah, there's one episode where he fixes the Social Security crisis, or at least Toby does.
Yeah.
And then it's entirely off camera, and they never reference it again in the West Wing. And then
because it's fixed.
Yeah, it's like the government would actually come up like, how'd you do it? And then of course the big arc towards the middle or end of season 6 of the West Wing is that they middle of season 6 is that they, or end of season 5 is that they solve the Middle East crisis, the Palestine-Israel crisis, by having the United States military occupy the West Bank. And it's like, well, one, that would be unpopular as all fuck, and two, I don't know if that would necessarily fix it as easily as they make it out to be. But yeah,
just per se at all.
Yeah, to take it. Yeah, it's not so much like make it worse, but like to take it back to House of Cards. I will say, to its credit, season 3 has a better antagonist than the first 2 seasons. It's got basically poor man's Putin. It's got this guy who's played by Mads Mikkelsen's brother, Lars, who of course was the big bad guy in season 3 of Sherlock. Thank God he doesn't have a mind palace this time around.
Mind palace?
Yeah.
Mind palace.
Yeah, it's in my mind palace. Let me go into it. And then
mind palace.
Yeah, and then gets shot in the face, and it's awesome.
There's your mind palace.
Yeah.
All over the sidewalk.
Yeah, so he's a better antagonist than Gerald Rainey is the antagonist in the first 2 seasons of House of Cards. He played Hearst in season 3 of Deadwood, and that sort of thing. And they try to build him up in those seasons as this big antagonist for Kevin Spacey, and he's not. You just kind of want to give him a hug. You're like, oh, it's like a grandpa figure. Hello. and yeah, and so I was glad to see that there's actually a villain with, some teeth to it this time. And Pussy Riot shows up, which is cool. As
the
themselves.
Actual band?
Yeah.
Nice.
As themselves, because they're
now that they're out of prison.
Yeah, and they're protesting, the Putin analog, which they would obviously do in real life. It's a really but there are some deviances in character behavior in season 3, specifically with Robin Wright's character, that I didn't feel gelled with the first 2 seasons, and it really just kind of ends very abruptly. So,
is this the final season?
No, though, unless Netflix decides to pull the plug.
Right, but it wasn't like Bill. I was I don't know if just a couple other shows popped out as oh, this is our final season. Right around the time that House of Cards was dropping, but
I know Parks and Recreation ended right around the same time.
Yeah,
but
they're basically the same show.
Oh, totally. Yeah. What if you find out that Frank Underwood is the president of the country in Parks and Recreation, Indiana?
Oh, that'd be good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dark as shit.
It turns into minor chords. Dun dun.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-doo.
But it's really I don't know. It's entertaining. House of Cards is entertaining, but just don't go into it expecting any depth. And neither of you guys have really watched.
I have not.
No, I couldn't get past Ferris Bueller Takes Washington with the way that the first episode was narrated straight at camera. I wasn't digging it.
Oh, you don't like the breaking of the fourth wall?
No,
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, there are certain times where that works with me. I enjoyed The Office, I enjoyed Parks and Rec, but it just
those are pseudo documentaries.
Exactly like that. And I'm pretty sure that's where the foot drops in terms of House of Cards, because it was just, there's just some ghost following me around that I'm going to talk directly to.
Yeah, nobody seems to notice. I'll be in mid-conversation and I'll turn towards this invisible thing and just kind of smirk.
I was like, okay, calm down, Hamlet.
Yeah, so it's I can see that. And they actually, that was one of the big complaints with season 1. They do tone it down in season 2.
It's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I might one of these days, maybe when the series finally ends, maybe I'll marathon the whole thing like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, maybe it's, and then I never liked the idea that apparently all it takes to be president is you just have to stay up all night and smoke cigarettes with Robin Wright, and you'll figure out how to do it.
I mean, to be fair, that's how George Bush did it.
Yeah,
Both of them.
yeah. I demand a recount. Let's not rehash that, actually. But yeah, so that's the big web series I've been digging on.
How's Powers going? You still watching Powers?
Did you have?
Yeah, I haven't seen the 5th episode yet. I guess at the time of this, it'd be on episode 6.
Yeah.
So still got to catch up on that. But I'm still enjoying Powers. The 2nd episode of iZombie I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I loved it.
The
think
interesting thing is it was a solid 2nd episode, but the end of episode 2 was one of those dagger moments that was so freaking wonderful because as she's eating brains to figure out these crimes, she's inheriting their hobbies and interests, and she gets this kind of like lust for life kind of thing in episode 2, and kind of decides
is that with the artist? I'm trying to remember whether I've seen 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, 2. There's only been 2 episodes.
Okay.
Or I guess there would have been technically 3 by the time of this, but 2 that have been out at the time we're actually recording this.
Yeah.
And so she kind of has this like lust for art and kind of
I thought that
the
was
arts.
beautiful.
And and spoilers if you haven't seen it, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but we could talk about it as well. Is she kind of tries to go back with her ex-fiance.
Yeah,
that was a heartbreaking scene because she's like so excited and she's like starting to feel life and love and this what she used to kind of feel like before she became this zombie. And
I was
the fiance just kind of rightfully so.
Yeah, I gotta say I was
down.
actually really proud of the fiance and also proud of the CW in general because like their history
it could have gone really wrong.
Their history with a scene like that is like reconciliation.
Yeah, and now we're gonna start trying to make it work.
And I was like, as much as much as I know you want to do this, CW, don't do it because it's just bad,
Yeah.
And then they didn't do it, and I was like, yes, thank you, CW.
And the actress they have playing the lead, Rose McIver, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Who I think is from New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
She's fantastic. I mean, it's one of those shows where if you cast the wrong person in the lead, which seems like obvious, Jake, if you cast the wrong person in the lead, but seriously, but the opposite thing is if you cast someone who's like a knockout in terms of just getting the we were talking to Corey about it. She loves the show because it's very Buffy like, and she's a huge Buffy fan. And the narration and the monologues and kind of like that kind of like hip sass moments to it. She just kind of snaps and pops with it. But you get the moments too, like the end, which I was so glad to see. This kind of heartbreaking moment where it's CW. It's they're taking some risks with it. Doing that final scene.
I will say poo poo on CW because they did the intro monologue again. Just like they were doing with Arrow and The Flash.
Oh, I mean, that's going to happen for all the time.
Fucking, I hate it so much.
It's just the way it's going to be.
And
still rocking the Mike Allred intro.
Yeah.
Those are so much fun.
That's
the
fine.
live action.
Yeah.
What's funny, because someone asked them on Twitter, they were like, isn't it amazing how much Rose McIver looks like the original drawing you did for the iZombie series, because he's the artist on iZombie. He's like, yeah, and I get to like draw her as it now in the opening scene. And she does look very much like her, if you've ever read or seen any of the art from the iZombie book. But keep an eye out for that show. I mean, there's just some fantastic stuff coming around. Daredevil's coming soon. Soon
we're gonna have a whole ass load of things to talk about with you guys. So with that in mind, I mean, unless you guys got anything to add,
listen to Chromeo. That's what I'm gonna say.
I mean, Mad Max has put out a couple new like teasers.
Yeah.
If you follow, I think it's Mad Max on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
I started following them recently.
If you hashtag,
hashtag Mad Max. Supposedly they will direct tweet you or something like that.
It's unlocking like some teasers and some footage and stuff.
Ooh.
It's getting closer. We're getting closer to Mad Max.
Yeah,
2015 belongs to the Mads.
1 month from the posting of this episode, Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron.
So mark your calendars, boys and girls.
Yeah. I'm considering whether or not to take off work so I can go see a midnight premiere of it.
Yeah, or like because you work.
Because Thursdays from like 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. on Fridays.
The prime window.
Yeah, right. The exact moment that you would be in the theater.
So, all those Marvel films are up, and soon you'll be seeing something completely different on the commentary front.
Will they?
Well done.
Is it completely different?
I mean, it's a film. I mean, come on. Come the fuck on.
Are we doing this?
Yeah.
Are we doing this?
But, yeah. So I think this has been a nice little installment of Catching Up with Chris, Jake, and Sam. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.